Good afternoon, my name is Yvonne Ellis and this is the Daughter Arise channel. If it's your first time coming to this channel, welcome. This channel is all about bringing you news and content and information around childhood sexual abuse. I am myself somebody that you probably would class as a survivor. I went through sexual abuse as a child for 5 years at the hands of my dad. But I consider myself somebody who's also overcome many of the challenges in the aftermath. And I use my experiences and my voice to empower and support and give hope to other survivors of sexual abuse, whether you're male or female, and also to raise awareness to anybody that comes to this channel who maybe wants to find out more information about how it affects lives. I believe in this day and age in 2019 that it's important that we have a conversation about sexual abuse, because thousands and thousands of children are still going through it right as we speak, and many others, millions of survivors worldwide, are going through the aftermath of it, not knowing or understanding how it has affected their life and being totally alone in their experience. And I hope in sharing these videos that people will be awoken to the epidemic of sexual abuse, find awareness and information about it, and also to find hope and encouragement if you are a survivor. So today I wanted to just come on here and talk to you about the cost of speaking out. It's something over the last couple of weeks that I've been thinking about, especially since my new book Choose Life, which was released a couple of weeks ago. It's available on Amazon and Waterstones. My book Choose Life is a practical empowerment awareness workbook for survivors of sexual abuse, for anybody that wants to find out from a survivor's perspective how sexual abuse affects lives. And it can also be used as well as a help tool if you're working with groups, or to have open discussions with survivors in a supportive role. And I was writing it, I was reading it from a writer's perspective, and now that it's launched I was able to just sit and read it from a reader's perspective. In my book I talk about the cost of speaking out, and there is a cost in speaking out when you've gone through sexual abuse. There's no getting away from that. And I first realised that when I was 13 years old, when I got taken into care, because I managed to tell a friend of mine I had at the time that I was being sexually abused by my dad. And at that point I was being sexually abused now 5 years in. It was completely hard. I was worn down by my experience and I just wanted out. And quite early on in my experience of going through sexual abuse at 10 years old, my dad told me I would go deaf, dumb and blind if I ever told anybody. Paedophiles, perpetrators of abuse, they do like to threaten you to keep secrets, tell you no one will believe you, that they'll kill you, or your family won't believe you, that they'll hate you. They'll do all these things whilst they're doing what they're doing, because they know what they're doing is wrong. Because if they didn't believe that, they wouldn't have to threaten you to keep quiet or bribe you with gifts. I realised early on that something was wrong, but I didn't have no vocabulary or words to articulate that experience. And when I was 13, Childline came to my school. I was able to finally get the information and knowledge about what was going on with me, and I told somebody about it. If you are asking me if I speak out, will people believe me? I don't know. But in my experience, when I spoke out, my family didn't believe me. My mum didn't believe me. And you know, I ended up in the care system, and I realised quite early on from the information that was being fed back to me from the social workers, and also as well, you know, about 15 years ago I was able to obtain my files from my time in care. I realised that my family didn't believe that I went through sexual abuse, and actually were putting the blame and onus on me for my experience. And that was devastating to understand, and devastating to be in that position where here I am in government care for telling the truth about what had happened to me. And it was so bizarre, because I had lived in a family environment my whole life, and all of a sudden I'm having to learn to fend for myself in a new and strange environment. And I realised, yeah, that was the first time that I had to pay a cost. As time has gone on, there's been a cost for me in so many different ways. I've had to lose those relationships. And that was about self-preservation. Really, when I was in care, my mum didn't really visit that much. I saw my siblings sometimes. When I got my flat at 17, my mum used to visit, and you know, she used to bring like food and shopping and stuff, and I was grateful for all those things. But there was no emotional relationship. She didn't show me any empathy. She was unable to connect with me about my experience, even when I tried to reach out. And I realised very, very early on, actually, that in those early years of coming out of care, that this relationship was just not good for me. In my 20s, I had to sever ties with my mum, and I don't have any relationships with my birth family. One of the things I think I've learned from speaking out is that whilst I've had to pay the cost, loss of relationships, loss of experiences, I have gained something greater, and that is I've learned to love myself. And when nobody was there for me, God was there for me, Jesus was there for me, and I don't feel ashamed of saying that, because when I had nothing and no one, God was there for me, unconditionally loving me when I was damaged, when I was broken, when I was without hope. And that love and that foundation I got through his word, the Bible, and the love that I felt through a personal relationship with him has made me the woman that I am today. I use my experiences now to support and encourage and help others to find their voice, and to be a voice for those who are going through things that are too terrible to talk about, that don't have a platform. If you are somebody that is wondering if on the other side, or you're thinking about speaking out, should I do it? I would say to you, yes, you should do it. You should voice your experience. The thing that I have realised is from my own journey is that you have to voice your experience because it is of importance to you, not because of your family or because of your friends or how they're going to receive, or if you're going to be believed. Because if you look on it from that point of view, I'm here to tell you that just from my experience and my experience of working with survivors of sexual abuse for the last 8 years, and the women and men that I've come across over the last 25 years that have been sexually abused in childhood, that have tried to speak out about it, it is never taken well. People will be more than likely to accuse you. And you have to understand and know that it's not because you've done anything wrong, because I thought I'd done something wrong in telling the truth. But no, I hadn't done anything wrong. And you haven't done anything wrong if you choose to express the truth about what's happened to you. There's many reasons why people react the way that they do. It's through lack of knowledge, denial, shock. Maybe they've been through it themselves and haven't dealt with their own issues to do with their experience of being sexually abused. You can never take on their burden onto yourself, because you yourself have got enough to carry. In the aftermath of sexual abuse, if you do choose to speak out, there will be a cost. There will probably be strain on relationships. You may be ostracised, rejected. You may have people accuse you of lying. These things are part of the cost. But that is the most important decision that you will make, in understanding that there is a cost, but what does the cost mean for you? For me, understanding that the cost for me was about self-preservation, was about me being free of my dad. I didn't want him touching me anymore. Me being free of the lies of sexual abuse. As a child, nothing can prepare you for being sexually abused. And in the moment that it happens, you start to believe certain things about yourself. You have a perception of who you are, relationships, love, your identity in the aftermath of sexual abuse. And that comes through lack of knowledge, lack of understanding of your experience. It's only as you get older and maybe you start to search and look for information that you're able to start to break down some of the perceptions and lies. But you have to understand that there is a cost in speaking out. A lot of survivors in the aftermath, in the later years, if they tell someone, they're accused. Why didn't you say something sooner? They don't look like they would do that. These are the types of things that they get. It's what I have had. It's what hundreds of thousands of survivors have had. So if you are looking to speak out, you have to know there is a cost, but you have to be thinking about, am I prepared to pay it? Am I prepared for the cost? What is the cost for you? Because self-preservation is of the utmost importance. Being able to live free from fear, free from the effects of sexual abuse, to start to live life on my own terms was important to me. And I had to claim back my life in the broken and destroyed state that it was. I had to take it and say, this is mine. Even though it's broken, even though it's destroyed at this moment, I'm taking it back. And I had to learn to build a foundation from the bottom. if you're somebody that has paid the cost in speaking out, maybe you're by yourself, you've had to suffer alone because of all that's happened to you, you're accused, family relationships are broken, I want to encourage you to stand firm on your truth. Stand firm in who you are. Never let anybody minimize or trivialize your experience of what happened to you as a child. Never let anybody make you compromise yourself because of their fear. Because a lot of the time, why people don't believe you, why people have problems believing somebody they know has done it, is because of fear and denial, lack of information, lack of education, so many different things that make up why somebody won't believe that their loved one would come to them and tell them this. And they never think about the cost. There is always a cost for speaking out. This is something that I feel that society needs to consider. What is the cost? Why would this person put themselves out here like this and tell it as it is? Because believe me, if you're somebody who has spoken out, like I've spoken out, the amount of flack you get for doing it, really, if you weren't sexually abused, why would you even put yourself through that? It would make no sense to do that. So I just want to encourage you, if you're somebody that has been through it, to stand in your truth. If you're somebody who's considering speaking out, I would just encourage you by this video to know that I'm somebody on the other end of it. I'm somebody on the other side of a 30-year journey. Somebody who has spoken out in the aftermath. Somebody who's paid the cost. If you're asking me the question, was it worth it? I would definitely say yes. Because I now live life on my terms. I don't live in the shadow of my abuse anymore. I'm able to make my own decisions based upon what I want to do with my life, not based upon my fears, insecurities, or past trauma. It is worth speaking out. And as I always share on this channel, whether that is ringing a confidential helpline or contacting Daughter Arise, if you want to email me, you can contact me at info@daughterarise.org.uk. And if you want to check out the work that I do with Daughter Arise, you can check that out at www.daughterarise.org.uk. You can find a confidential helpline, hopefully in your area, wherever you are in the world. You can start to find your voice in your experience. You don't even have to give your name. That's why I like to tell you about confidential helplines. If you're not ready to tell family or you're not ready to tell friends, I like to give people that option. And furthermore, in my book, Choose Life, this is your place where you can start to address some of those issues. It is an empowering place. It's a place which is private to you, where you can start to find your voice. But know that in standing in your truth, you're standing up for the fight for yourself. And there's nothing more greater than that. Nobody can take away from that. Nobody can diminish you because of that. So until the next video, take care.